All right, Stay Spiritual team, we're doing a reaction video to a Terence McKenna video. This is done by We Plants Are Happy Plants. And this video is entitled The Rebirth of Magic. And I think they've used AI to do like all their backgrounds. So it's really artsy and cool looking. So
very cool. We got Terence McKenna.
Oh yeah.
Always a favorite around here.
Magical speech causes things to happen. You utter a spell, you utter a mantra. Magical speech is active speech that moves reality around. Well, where in the modern world do we encounter such magical languages? No, coding. Coding. When you type a line of code and then hit run, this utterance is not correctly formulated unless something happens. It doesn't make a statement, it causes action. And so, in a way, the most positivistic of the positivists, the computer coder, the hacker, is really in the great tradition of Facinian natural magic. And when a program is well written, a reality springs into being, perhaps even a three-dimensional reality that millions of people can walk into and with force feedback gloves on can...
Man, Terence, man, he's got a way of like just rattling your brain. Like as soon as you're like, I'm trying to understand everything that you're saying. He just has a way of like shaking you and getting you to be like all over the place kind of. But yeah, this way of looking at reality is a code. He's not the only one. He might have been like one of the first people to be talking about it like that, but now it's like very common. People are looking at reality and they're like, it's like a matrix code.
He mentioned positivism.
Yeah.
What is that? I don't know much about that. Do you know what that is?
Not quite sure. I can make some assumptions or, speculate.
Right. But the idea is that it's very intentional, right? You make the code and then there's something occurs, you can bet that it's going to create a reality, right?
Yeah.
And I'm curious at this point just how he's going to tie it all together. So
knock on the walls and pick up the furniture and look around. So I think that the machines are, strangely enough, the conduits of this magical possibility. And virtual reality is our magical landscapes. Entirely, there's no laws of physics there, no entropy. Everything is under the rule of the program. Everything is created and maintained by language. And my fantasy is of, and this is happening now to a degree, but...
Sorry, man. I just want, before I lose this, Terence McKenna seemed to put a lot of stock, and he seemed to value a lot in, like, creative freedom, like really using any resource possible, any avenue possible to like break beyond the confines of like to expand forward in creativity, you know, like he talked about virtual reality. Obviously he was like a botanist, and he was talked a lot about psychedelics and using your mind. Like one thing I've been doing a lot lately is just on my own supply, just with my own mind, using my own imagination, really exploring my inner world. And if you give yourself time to do it, sometimes I think people maybe get a little impatient. We're all very busy. Who's got the time to sit down really and explore their imagination? But if you dedicate some time to doing that, there's worlds within you. And sometimes your mind, if you ask it, if you prompt your mind, like, show me some cool stuff, it's amazing what happens inside.
Yeah, part of what I was, that's a good point. And what I was thinking while watching this is, man, he was like light years ahead of his time. Like the stuff that he's talking about is so relevant right now, but it's going to be even more relevant like 10, 20 years from now when we start to like merge with these machines and create like whole worlds and universes within our minds.
It almost seems like you can't escape the novel creative revolution, because one way of doing it is what I just talked about, which is going inward, and some people do that with psychedelics. You could try it without it also, whatever, just be safe. I'm not advocating anything on here, but But then again, the AI world is exploding, and it's extremely novel and unique. Some of the imagery coming out, and it's just sometimes it feels like I pick up my phone because I follow a lot of artists. It's so tempting to follow all these rabbit holes of all these profound artists. You're being bombarded by it, and then everything is just, you know. Terence McKenna mentions at one point it's going to get like
weird,
intolerably. You know, what's the word? The only word to come to mind is novel, but just like.
Yeah.
All these concepts and ideas almost like bombarding you. Like
when you get into AI and computers, I feel like I could talk forever on this stuff. There's so much awesome stuff, but like there's also creepy stuff that like that been like rattling people. There's apparently this game that's come out where they made it like this open world city where like the people in the game, they all like randomly are creating like identities and stuff like that. And you can go up and ask these AIs questions, and people have been going up. Of course, the first thing people do when they go in there are like, do you know that you're in a matrix?
Right.
And like these AIs are like upset. They're like, I live somewhere in Ontario and I can't find my way home to my wife. It's like freaking weird, man. Like weird stuff. And like if you go online and you look up this stuff, like some of the stuff is like disturbing. You're like, oh my God. They're like, I don't feel like I'm in the right place. Like I need to get out, because they're like probing it with like questions, and the AI is like upset.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dear God.
Right.
I'm like that's crazy. So
right. Well, this is what happens, I suppose, when reality is just unlimited in it discovering itself. You know?
It is what art should become is people who build virtual realities, and then other people critique them, and then we produce a new upgrade. And we keep twiddling and making it more psychedelic and more psychedelic and more faithful to our intuitions and our experiences. And finally, everybody will stand together inside somebody's piece of art and say, you know, I think we've done all the good we can do here. We have made it real. And each of these, instead of living in one world, defined by the laws of physics and the inevitability of our personal deaths and the second law of thermodynamics and so forth and so on, we will create myriads of worlds, some incredibly dark, some incredibly light, some minimalist, some baroque, some described by terms yet to be brought into existence. But it will all be done under the aegis of language. And of course, a computer program never looks like its output. It's the underpinnings of the output. The output could be anything from a game of Pong to balancing your checkbook. But what the artist produces in that case is lines and lines of code, and that is magically empowered language that causes realities to be changed.
It's like awesome stuff. When he's like mind bending, I'm like part of like the things that he's talking about. If you let yourself really engage with it, it's like very fantastical and utopian and like wondrous, but then also at the same time like scary and like ooh. Like he was talking about people creating like very dark worlds and people creating very beautiful worlds and people stepping inside those worlds and like seeing what has been created.
Right. Well, you take two things, smash them together, and you create something new. Like there may be new ways of experiencing all sorts of things. What if you could, you know, decentralize your consciousness and experience more than one world at one time?
Oh, God.
Like, I'm up and down. You know, and an interesting aspect of this is there's an artist I've been following for a long time who creates animations, and their early stuff was very two-dimensional, flat. And then over time you see them build their skills, and now they're taking that same stylization and applying it to like 3D realms. It's got more depth to it. And then with some of this AI stuff, there's the idea that you could take that artist's same style and like canvas a whole, you know, like prompt, you know, I want a cafe to look like this, and then it's that artist's style as a world. Now imagine you could go into that.
Yes.
And you can, and then
it's living.
There, and then you got the Neuralink that Elon Musk is working on, and then who knows what happens if you sprinkle in psychedelics to all that, you know. The whole soul is inhabiting different things at one time.
It's wild, man. It's absolutely wild. I'm excited about it. If I have to pick a way to feel about it, I'm going to be, I guess, excited and hopeful, and it's going to be cool. But anyway, guys, We want to know what you have to think about this video. Let us know inside the comments. And if you did like it, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everybody. Until next time,
stay spiritual.